did do a good one this time. However, we have not abandoned the Nkuhuma pride of lions. They're still here and still looking quite sleepy. The little cub seems like it's finally decided that it's time for a nap. I think all of the energy fighting and playing and chasing its siblings was depleted. So now it's having a nice snooze next to all his family members. Probably choosing a very good spot, as at some point, unfortunately, he fell into the water while he was being chased by one of the siblings. So I think maybe it got a little bit too wet, and that's why it's in between the two females, just to get a little bit of warmth, because it is somewhat chilly this morning, quite overcast. So having the extra added bonus of a massive lion that you can cuddle up with, I'm sure it's doing all that it can to keep warm. We've got a few members that are still awake, like this youngster. She seems to be grooming herself. Also, she's been part of the playing antics, or she's been the partner in crime for the little one. And they've been running around and chasing each other, and then they go down and they sleep for a little while, and they're like, no, we need to carry on playing. And then they get up again and get back into it. Now, I don't doubt that she's got a lot of mud and other things in between her paws. That's probably why she's licking, and maybe even a tick or two. Perhaps even a little bit of a piece of wood, a chip or a splinter or something along those lines in there. Splinter? Splinter. Now, all of them are here, including the two boys, all of them lying around and sleeping. Camille, you're wondering if lions hunt and eat birds. Well, funny that you mentioned that, because not long ago we actually had two francolins, which are almost look like pheasants, smaller pheasants, almost like a bush chicken, that were walking around in the middle of the lions, just pecking and eating everything away, and the lions could not be bothered. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't eat I was going to say chicken, that they don't eat birds. I just think sometimes for them it's not really worth spending that energy on something that's only going to be a little bit of a bite. Should it be a bigger a bigger bird, I need to focus, they can try, but they seem just more intent in hunting antelope, although birds do or can form part of their diet up to an extent. Very thorough, getting all the mud off your feet. Got a very clean girl here. Getting everything. Now you're doing a good job, because your leg is becoming white again. We can see all your spots and not the mud anymore. Well done. Good cleaning session. We should have you for some sort of bleach commercial. What is quite funny, look at the difference in coloration between her feet and the rest of her leg. Now, as you can see, she's still young, and we can see all the little spots that are on her feet. Now, it seems like everything's pretty settled on the lion front, and while we give them some privacy for their cleanup, let's head over to Tristan and find out what his plan is now.
Well, I'm in a very similar spot that I spent a lot of time recently waiting to see a leopard, and once again I'm doing the exact same thing. So where we are is we're on Gari Main, and Hukumuri has most certainly now staked a major claim as to what he wants to do, because he has now come all the way to where Thandi and Cub were hiding for a long period of time a few weeks ago. So when we were during our TV special, Thandi and Cub was right in this drainage line, and we sat here with her and Tingana, and he has just come into this drainage line. We can't see him yet. He apparently was moving north into the drainage line and coming from the south, but this is very far east. In fact, this is the furthest east we've seen him come, and is a big indication that he is not messing around anymore, and that he really does want this territory for himself. So I'm surprised at how far east he's come. There he is. He's behind us on the road. So he's behind us on the road going into the dip. I think it's him. It looked like him. I might be wrong, but was it a leopard? It was, hey, Vildy? Yeah. So I think I saw him. It was just out the corner of my eye. I saw movement on the road. So it looks like down in the dip here is where he is. I'm just going to try and double check. Do you see it as well, VM? Excellent. So VM also saw it, which is good news. To the right, there he is. Yeah, so we've got him. Excellent. Woohoo! Leopard, which is amazing. So spots are always good. And we are lucky. I just need to let the guys in the east know, because I know there's people that are following up on him. Sessions, I've got Hukumuri. He's crossed north in the Mulawati. I don't know if you'll get visual anymore. So he's going down into the drainage line. So let's just go back. So the guys are just asking me about the lions. Yeah, they're flat. Where you guys lost visual of them. So there he goes. So this is the first time that we have Hukumuri in the Mulawati riverbed that I know about or heard about. So, and he's now pushing further east. So he's going up the fire break, which is super interesting. And well, Tundi and Cub better watch out because he's now deep inside where Tingana has been spending time, where Tundi's been spending a lot of time. And look at him, he looks as though he's on a mission. He's kind of in a situation where he's striding around and he doesn't look like he's too tentative, does it? He's almost got his head down, kind of walking along, and it seems as though he wants to kind of take over, and for sure. So we're going to try and keep up with him because... So Jared's buddy, you say you're still rooting for a Tingana comeback. I think we all are, to be honest. I don't think any of us want to see a takeover given what's at stake and how many of our females unfortunately are, you know, around with cubs. So I think we're all wanting a situation where we get Tingana to come back and to kind of really start pushing back in this area, but it's looking less and less likely. The more this guy is coming through like this, the less likely it's going to be that we're going to get a situation where we're going to be able to see Tingana coming back. But there he is, he's just stopped, still moving east. I wonder what he's up to, and maybe he's got the scent of something that he's coming all this way, but it is interesting that he's moved this far. James Richard, you said perfect timing for the drive to come back. Exactly. We've been sitting patiently there for the last 10-15 minutes. We did a little loop to Chitwa, hoping he would come out. And, well, it all worked out just right, because he ended up coming out as you guys came back, which is absolutely wonderful. So it was perfect timing, and hopefully we'll be able to stick with him. He's kind of just ghosting along to the east, and there's a road that comes out here. Where is he gone now? I think if we stop here we should be able to see him. There he is. So he's just on the other side of this bush. It looks like he's going to scent mark there. Just want to see where he goes. I don't know if he knows, but there we go, scent marking. So that is him staking his claim that this is our area, my space, I want it and I'm going to take it. So without Tingana challenging him and without Tingana kind of coming in and pushing him, he's welcome to do all of these things. And like I say, this is now as far as we've ever seen him go, and he is way east. In fact, he's now kind of moving in a direction towards Chitwa line, which is now starting to go even towards where quarantine spends time. So he's definitely on a major move. Just want to try and stay with him, but keep the road quite close because it gets very thick in here, and if he keeps his direction then he's going to pop out onto the road in front. So in fact, let's get there quickly. Right, I'm going to try and get onto the road itself and try and get to sort of where we can see him better, and while we do that, let's send you back across to the lions that are having, well, a nice morning nap.
They are having a very nice morning now, and it's amazing to think that while one of our biggest cats is sleeping and is pretty much done for the next few hours, then we have another spotted creature, also one of our biggest predators, that is on the move and trying to get places and go places. Cats will always be such interesting things. Now it seems like our Nkuhumas are loving the weather, and they all splayed out all around here. And I'm surprised that they're sleeping as much as they are, because it doesn't seem like they move that much throughout the night, but they certainly seem exhausted. So I wonder if perhaps they didn't have a few hunting attempts and a lot of adrenaline rushing through them, getting close and getting into position, but clearly no buffaloes around here. And I'm actually wondering as to where they might have gone. Now, might be almost close to impossible to tell with all of the vehicles tracks that we had this morning on the main road where the buffaloes were, just because, well, obviously when there are lions around, everything is chaos and everyone wants to see the owners of those paws. But I'm sure we will hear later on today as to where the buffalo have gone. But for now, I'm very happy that the lions actually came all the way back into these mud wallows, allowing us to spend as much time as we have with them today. Jacqueline, you're wondering if lions and leopards have taste buds. I'm not actually sure. I would imagine that they do, as they seem to prefer certain meats to others, and maybe that's part of the reason why, but I am not 100% sure of the answer. That's actually another very interesting thing. Alright. Alright, so Kurz just replied, or she sent me a comment that apparently they have 470, which does confirm that they have taste buds and they can choose the meat that they want to eat, but compared to humans, we have about 10,000. That is quite interesting. So our palate seems like it's a lot more refined than the one of lions. Would explain why they don't really mind eating rotten meat every now and again. And while we absolutely couldn't, we wouldn't enjoy the taste. Interesting. Seems like Tristan managed to catch up with Hukumuri, who's still on the move, so let's head over there and see what that spotted cat is up to.
Well, we are with him and he is still on the move, but he keeps stopping and looking as though there's something here that he would like to hunt. So he's just off on my left-hand side, and so I'm not going through the bushes because he keeps kind of staring in the direction ahead of him as though he's spotted something that he wants to go after. So there you go, you can see him kind of walking through the bush. He does have quite a full tummy, which is probably from that young kudu that he had when Shadulu had her scrub hair. He was on a kudu kill, a little kudu calf, so I would imagine that's why he's still got a full belly, unless he found something last night, which is also possible, knowing him, the way that he goes about things. And we've seen that he's not a cat that doesn't... Come on, Rusty, don't start now. He's a cat that doesn't mind going after multiple prey items in a row, you know, so he won't just stop on one kill, he'll go after quite a few. The problem is he's going to drag us through the most horrific bush possible. Now I'm hoping he's going to come to this termite mound, so I'm going to just park here and see if he does. He's just coming up on my sort of left-hand side now, and it looks like he might come towards this mound. Are you going to come towards this mound, Hukumuri? Come on. Up to the mound, or are you going to walk past it? No, I think he's going to walk past it. He hasn't changed. Maybe. Come on. He just has a serious set of eyes on him, though, doesn't he? It's these massive, kind of big, wide eyes that look at you and kind of cut right through you. So he's an impressive character in that regard. He's definitely got something about him. All right. Now, I don't know if he's gone onto the mound and settled, or if he's kind of gone striding past. I'm just going to try and go around and see. Oh, sorry, Vim. There he's on the mound, but he's going off it now. So he's not settling at all. It seems as though he's doing his own thing today. No, you're going to go back to the road now. Hukumuri, what are you up to? So it seems as though he wants to now go the other side, so I'm going to go back. Tammy, you're wondering if he's hunting. I think he's doing two things. I think he's more on a sort of exploratory mission, because like I say, we've never seen his tracks here. No one's ever seen him this side or this far east before. So I think it's more that he's exploring and trying to just stretch his sort of bounds of his territory. But while he's doing that, he certainly is not going to kind of sneeze at the opportunity to hunt. So if there's a chance to hunt something, I think he will hunt. But what he's really doing is all about marking territory and checking if he can find himself a new area and expand what he's already got. But I mean, he's taking a massive chunk now. If you think that he's going all the way from Simbambili Elephant Plains all the way to this side, that is a huge area, and it's bigger than what even Tingana was using for a while. So he's pushing and nobody's answering his kind of advances, and that's why he's doing it. It's any leopard will do this. They'll take as much as they can. So Shannon, you're wondering if a female will go into a false estrus to fool a new leopard. So yes, Shannon, they do sometimes do that, particularly if they're just trying to protect a cub that they've got. They might pretend like they got an estrus and mate with him. The problem is that all of our leopards that are around this section, their cubs are probably a little too old to fool him. So I don't think they would get away with it. There's a dove that's got some serious... I don't know, some serious attitude. I wouldn't stand there if Hukumuri was walking straight towards me like that if I was a dove. And it still hasn't flown away, has it? No, there we go. A clever dove. I suppose if you can fly, then you do these things. But he's an interesting fella, isn't he? He always looks so serious, as though there's something going on. And he reminds me a bit of Heath Ledger in the Batman movie when he's the Joker, and he's like wild-eyed and very kind of all over the place. I don't know why he does, but it's just something that he does remind me of. But let's see where he goes. I'm interested to see how much further east he pushes, because like I say, we're now going towards Cheetah Cut Line, which means that quarantine is also now a factor in all of what's going on, and Hosana certainly is now going to feel some pressure, because this is an area that Hosana does move around in. We're not far from Chitwa at all, and so things have changed with this movement of Hukumuri coming in. We need another leopard now to stand up to him and say enough and push him back west, because all of our leopards now potentially are going to be in danger if he keeps moving like this. There's Kuchava, there's Tandi, Shadow, all of them are potentially cats that might have a problem. And you see, look, he's sniffing. I wonder if he's picked up a scent of another leopard there. This is a road that Tandi uses regularly, so I would imagine that maybe he's sniffing her scent. He didn't flemis and grimace, so it seems as though he's not going to pick up, or he didn't pick up anything that's too fresh there. Now, Trouble, you're wondering if Hukumuri came from another territory, did that mean he got defeated from there? So, possibly. I mean, we don't know anything about him. We don't know what his past is. He doesn't look like a leopard that's old enough to have kind of won and lost territories many times. I think this is the first time that he's really kind of going territorial, and so I don't think yet we've had that situation where he's been overthrown. I think he's probably gone through multiple different males' territories and has been kind of pushed as he's gone about it, but I don't think he's in a situation where he's held a territory and then been chased. But you can see he's, trying to scent mark. Nothing's really coming out. If you run yourself dry from walking so much this morning, to give you an idea how far this male leopard has walked, he has come from Arethusa this morning. He was found crossing from Arethusa into Hofmans. He's walked from Hofmans into Little Gari into Djuma, and now is still going northeast. So he's a cat that doesn't seem to stop moving. He seems as though he's always got somewhere to be and something to do. Interesting. He's still going, still pushing further and further in. I wonder where he's going to draw the line and just turn around and start going back to where he feels comfortable, or if he's just going to keep going until he meets another leopard that tells him no. It's going to be very interesting. Right, somebody's trying to get hold of me on the radio to try and get into the sighting, so let me just quickly answer them. Go ahead. Right, so while I try and sort out the radio, I'm going to send you back across to Ali, who I don't know if she's still with the Lions or if she's moved on, but either way, I'm sure she'll have lots to tell you.
Well, we are still with the lions, but we've been hearing some elephants going absolutely crazy not too far from where we are, so I wonder if they're chasing something. We could also hear a car in the distance, so I don't know if maybe they just got upset with the car, or we're not too far away from the main road, so I wonder if perhaps they got upset at a game viewer, or if there's another animal around, or if they just having issues in between themselves. That did somewhat wake some of the lions up, so we can see. Sure, I think that was Tinia from what I can see from here. Got his head up and started hearing or listening intently to where the elephants were, but it seems like they've calmed down now and not too much going on, at least in terms of the elephant world. The lions, as you can see, they're all fairly happy, very, very chilled all the way here. Not like any of them have woken up, and I'm pretty sure that if the elephants, or unless the elephants start trumpeting again, Tinia's just gonna do the same as the rest of the pride and enjoy a day that feels like Sunday, although it's Monday. Senza and I were laughing recently because the attitude of the lions, it really, really does feel like it's a Sunday. It's a nice overcast day. You just feel like doing exactly that, rolling on your back and then just carry on sleeping. But it is actually a Monday, and today, or for us, every day feels like Monday. Or should we say Sunday? We're not too sure what we feel like right now. Now, I think these guys are pretty settled for the day, so I would like to head onto where those elephants were trumpeting and see what it is that it was all about. Perhaps the third or the missing male is there. Maybe Nsuku bumped into the elephants. Maybe the elephants bumped into Nsuku. So I think we're going to leave our pride that's very settled, at least for the next few hours, and we're going to start dashing off and look for the source of the commotion. Even the little one is tired, and if he's fast asleep, then you know that the rest of the pride is down for the day. Shame she did put up a good effort in running around and moving and just making everyone play with her. Alright, let me try and reverse out of here without falling next to a pride of lions into any holes. Andrew, you're wondering that if with it being overcast and cloudy, if perhaps there would be any hippos out and about. Yes, this is perfect weather for hippos. The reason why they stay in the water throughout the day, especially during the summertime, it's because it becomes very, very hot. So they risk dehydrating or actually even getting sunburned. So on days like today's, you actually, if you go on foot, hippos are another thing to look for, especially if you're close to rivers or big dams, because that's where they're gonna come from. But I wouldn't be surprised if there were hippos, or if our friend at Buffelshoek Dam had actually gone for a bit of a walk this morning. Bye, lions! Thank you very much. All right, let's see if maybe we can find Nsuku, who's been a little bit elusive the last few days, and I wonder if he did cause all that commotion with the elephants. Now, I'm just going on a guess, but who knows? Maybe we'll be right. And also, I don't think our beautiful lions are going to be moving. Right, well, I tried to find out if there was another cat around. Let's go back to Tristan, who's still following his cat.
I am still following our cat, and he's about to take us through the worst possible section that I was hoping he wouldn't go, but he is about to do it, and he's going to head deeper into this drainage section, which is very, very thick and very dense, and I don't know if we're going to be able to even follow him through here. We're going to try, but it's not going to be easy at all. There's a lot of rocks here, there's a lot of issues with big fallen over stumps, and the crossing points here are not easy across this drainage line. So let's try and see if we can keep up with him. There is at least another vehicle with us, which should help with the kind of following. Shane, are you wondering how long a scent mark lasts? Well, it depends obviously on a number of environmental factors. If we get rain, then not very long at all, because as soon as it rains, that's the end of it. We're not going to have any more sort of sign of him. Oh, he's very kindly crossed on the most convenient path there is, I think, in this whole area, which is delightful. So, you know, if there's rain, not long at all, but if there's no rain, probably for a leopard, I mean, I don't know how sensitive their smell is exactly, but it probably lasts at least a week or two, because I've seen leopards scent mark and then a week later another one come there and immediately stop in that place and start phlegm and grimacing and looking and smelling in that area, and so they obviously pick up the scent of the other leopard quite quickly. Right, now, whether or not it's going to be still friendly on the other side here, I don't know. Viam, I think we're going to have an interesting following session here. We're going to have to probably mow down a lot of different stuff to keep up with him, and whether or not this is going to work, I'm not quite sure. Right, so we've gone over that section. Now he's going through another. Oh, we're not going to go any further with this leopard. This is going to be the last we're going to see of him. Unfortunately, I cannot follow any further than where we are. I'm going to try find a place to get round, but I don't think we're going to have a chance to actually get onto the other side at all, which is going to be a bit of a bummer, but we'll try and see what we can do. I want to try and just send the other vehicle around to the other side. So while we figure out what we're going to do here, let's send you back across to Ellie, who I think is just driving about, and I wonder what else she'll find this morning.
Right, well, we did find the elephants, and there is sign of them having been stressed. So you see almost there. So you see the temporal glands on their sides are secreting a lot of the substance. So it's consistent with the fact that they were the ones that were doing all the trumpeting earlier on. And I wonder if perhaps had they been in here all the time, if they didn't, for whatever reason, see a leopard, and that's why they got a little bit upset. Or a lion. I haven't seen any more tracks, but it is a little bit strange for them to act that way. And now, obviously, whatever it was, it's past, and they're feeding on the grass and perhaps also whatever fruit they can find from the marula. Now, the only one that we're actually able to see is this one over here on the left-hand side, it seems to be the matriarch of the small group, or at least the older female. And there's a younger one and then a youngster of about maybe 4 or 5 years of age. But they are hiding in between the bushes, and because they've been under so much stress already this morning, I don't want to approach them too much and get a little bit closer to them because we don't know what they've been dealing with. So I think we've got to be respectful of their space as well. Now, they seem quite happy with us, so I don't think they had a bad experience with the vehicle or anything related to that, because as soon as we've arrived, they've carried on doing what it is that they were doing, which is feeding, and that's normally a good indication that whatever it is that bothered them has gone. Shame, girl. I hope you're feeling better. Now I'm intrigued as to what it is that made you so grumpy earlier on. There are quite a few termite mounds around here, so I don't know if it's maybe worth for us going back onto the road, see if whatever it is, now I'm imagining a story, potentially could have been something bothering them, then carried on walking, perhaps onto Treehouse Dam. I think maybe that's what we're going to do. We're going to spend a little time here with the Ellies, as it almost seems like the youngster wants to come out and show himself, reveal himself. So hopefully we'll be able to have a glimpse of that. Because also spending time with elephants is a wonderful way of spending time. Seems like it's been the morning of the big ones for us, Senzo. Big lions, big cats, big elephants, big mammals. Good. I don't think I can complain. Now, you can tell that she's probably had a little bit of a stressful time, not only because of the secretion, but because of moving her ears. Chris, you say that elephants are so cool. I agree with you. They have all these little tails that just show you what they're really thinking, and what never ceases to amaze me is just how intelligent they are and how can they solve problems and just have their way. They're almost like very stubborn creatures. And we heard from the girls at FC that apparently Darrow was back in camp this morning and he was up to no good. Seems like not only does he want the marula, perhaps he's going to start putting his trunk into places he shouldn't be. Lucky for us, he's not. I don't think that there's a way for him to actually get in the middle of our camp or our staff village where we live. But nevertheless, elephants have a funny way of squeezing through, and I am hoping my car will be safe wherever he goes. Because, again, trying to explain to an insurance company that your car got squished by an elephant who is scratching on it might not be the easiest thing. Hello? You guys are coming out. Be truthful, you're saying that you love the long hair underneath their mouths. It is funny, isn't it? It almost seems like they've all got a little beard going on. But yes, those hairs have an important role as well. They're sensory hairs, so they allow them to, first thing, to protect the mouth, which is a sensitive area, from any external things that might hurt them, but also just for them to be able to gauge what they're putting in their mouths. So pretty, guys. Nice to see you. Glad you're not grumpy anymore. They're looking very dark this morning. It almost seems like either they've already been into a dam or that there was a little bit of drizzle during the night, and that's why they're looking so dark. Because the elephants are normally of a grayish color, however, they're looking dark gray and not just plain gray as they as they tend to look in this area. Also, I'm a little bit jealous of the spot where they are. It seems like they've found a juicy, nice, herby, lots of grass in there for them to eat. And I'm actually starting to get quite hungry for breakfast, so maybe that's just it. It was. You chased it away, so well done. Keeping your mental sanity, chasing all that negativity away. Well, obviously lots of flies and little things, and perhaps even the grass annoying them. So you see the tail is sweating and going and hasn't really stopped. And I think it's because actually in this particular case he was standing too close to the longer inflorescence, so the little seeds on top of the grass, and maybe they're tickling him? I'm not too sure. Tickling it. Maybe it can almost act like a slash. Maybe, if one day they'll be able to just cut the grass with their tail and be like, phew, and then they'll be able to eat it a lot easier. Now it seems like our small group here is quite settled, so I actually now want to go back to the road where we were in and try and investigate and see if perhaps there's anything that might have come that way. It seems like it's a morning of surprises, so who knows? We can carry on hoping for some more action. Right. Seems like Tristan is still trying to find where the leopard's going, so let's get over back to him.
Indeed, so we got through the drainage, Ellie, and we've tried to find him on the other side, and we weren't long. We were quick through that drainage. We found a little crossing point not far, and he'd come up on the other side, and we can't find him at all. So I'm just trying to do some loops and see if I can pick him up somewhere in this vicinity where I think he was heading, but so far no sign. We've at least, like I say, got another vehicle that's going to help us, and I think a third one on the way, which is going to be a lot easier in terms of looking for him. But he was walking, so as long as he's up and moving, finding him should be better. Charles, are you wondering how the other leopards know to move away to avoid Hukumuri? Well, because he vocalizes and he scent marks. So any other leopard that comes across his scent or hears him calling will know straight away, hang on a second, this is not a leopard we know. This is not a leopard that is Tingana, and therefore they'll either avoid him, or if it was, a fit and healthy Tingana, might have had a situation where he would have come straight towards him and kind of confronted him. So it's all to do with scent and vocalizing, and it's part of the reason why they do it is so that they can, one, avoid confrontation with bigger animals and try and push them away and say that I've got a territory, don't come here, don't try your luck here. And secondly, it's to try and advertise that I'm the new male around here, I'm coming, this is what I want. So, it's a bit of twofold kind of thing. Now, where has he gone? I would have thought we would have found him by now. Unless he ran after something, that's the only thing I can think of. But he was kind of jogging up the hill, which was not too far from where we are now. I wonder if he didn't go back into the drainage line. I don't see any tracks here. I just want to go back to exactly where we had him, because maybe he just lay down there and I'm just kind of driving right past him. Was it here, Vim? There's the termite mound there. I think this is where we had him. Yes, there's that termite mound. So this is exactly where I lost view of him, was jogging up this area. So he was coming up from there, and he went here. I think he's gone behind us a little bit more, so we need to just go further down the road. Right, I'm going to try and figure it out, try and see if I can find him again. I'm sure we'll be able to find him again. And while we do that, let's send you back across to Ellie, who's also doing what I'm doing and is driving.
Well, I've managed to come back onto the road. I was thinking now, actually, silly me, that should have been one of my first thoughts, that perhaps the elephant spotted that other lioness, the mystery lioness that came all the way from northern Manyeleti yesterday. I think she was identified as belonging to the Imbiri pride. But cannot see anything around here, and I still think that perhaps heading towards Treehouse Dam might be our best bet. Also, who knows, perhaps there will be another leopard in there. I would certainly like to catch up with some of our other characters. Rexus, you're wondering how long will the marula tree, or how long will the marula trees carry on producing fruit for? Well, normally they just do it for the summer season, and we are starting to head now onto the end, or the last portion of summer. So I think probably towards the end of March, mid-March, they will start producing their fruits. Maybe some of them, the ones that started producing the fruit a little bit later, will carry on until the beginning of April, but by the end of April we shouldn't have too many marulas out and about anymore, or at least not too many fruits, which I'm sure will play an important role in us not having Daryl coming into our staff camp. So Daryl is an elephant, in case you were wondering. It's a very big male elephant that is very well known all around because he's got a very distinctive marking on his ear, on his right ear. Right ear? Left ear. Alright. Just trying to pay attention here just in case there are any tracks on the road. Ah, he's on the dam cam right now. You see, when things are true, animals manifest. So he's not too far from the camp. Maybe he's gorged himself on all of the marulas in camp and now, you know, time to go back for a drink. And I must say, there's very little that will stop an elephant when they want to be stubborn and they want to get a particular tree or get to a particular tree or a particular spot. Now, I cannot really see any tracks around here, so it almost feels like this road has been a little bit deserted. Oh, and I'm starting to feel a little bit of drizzle. Well, lucky the sky has not opened on top of us just yet, and I hope it's going to carry on holding at least for the next little while. Ooh. Then the promise of breakfast sounds even better. Alright. Is that a leopard? No. I'm going to carry on looking for pretty much anything else, but while I do that, let's head over to Tristan and get an update on how his leopard search is going.
Well, still no sign of him coming out anywhere here, so just heading back up towards Mamba now to try and see if he's going to pop out on Mamba, if he maybe just went a bit further north than I expected, quicker than I expected. The thing is though, what VM and I were saying is he's not exactly walking fast, so I'm not sure. I wonder if it's changed direction slightly and just kind of sort of moved in a different way. It's possible. Difficult to say. Is it? You know, it's not like I know where he's going here. So, let's see if we can find where he's gone. And he's got a nice orange coat, so it should be easy to be able to spot him. But I believe our signal's not very good, so let's send you back to Ellie while we try to find some better signal.
Right, seems like Gremlins and Hukumuri are ganging up on Tristan, but I'm sure he'll be able to defeat them. We are on our way to Treehouse Dam, see if perhaps there's anything lurking around the waterhole here. I wouldn't be surprised if later on today the lions end up coming all the way up here. They're not too far from Treehouse Dam, and it's a lot easier for them to get straight away into here because they don't really have to follow the roads like what we do. It's a lot easier being a lion sometimes than a Land Rover. Yeah, you're wondering if we have penguins in Africa. Well, yes, we do. We've got penguins that are very similar to the Magellanic penguins. I think they were called, up until recently, the jackass penguin, but I think the name changed, and I'm not too sure to what it got changed to. But there are smaller penguins, and there's actually one of the, or I believe it's the only land colony of penguins. It's close to Cape Town in a place called Simonstown, and it's very nice as you can get to see all of them, and it's crazy how they are living very close to humans. Now, they were part of a bit of a nature drama, I think it was last year, not the year before, as there was a Cape leopard that all of a sudden realized that the penguins were there, and then they were quite helpless. So he actually started predating upon the penguins and ate a few of them. So all the conservators are trying to protect the penguins, but here comes the Cape leopard who's also protected. So it was, I'm sure, a conflict of interest for many people. But yes, we do have penguins, and they're very noisy. Very similar to the ones that we get, for example, in South America. I believe that they are two different, and this is quite a bit of a trivia situation. It is believed that they were split up into two different species, if I'm not mistaken, because although they share a lot of genetics, they don't switch. So apparently, the ones in Patagonia, so at the bottom of Argentina, and the ones in the Cape, very, very similar, but they cannot understand each other because they don't speak the same penguin language. How's that? That's very interesting. I found it super interesting that there are also language barrier amongst birds and just creatures in general. Now, we have arrived a treehouse dam. It's looking a little bit gloomy, but there is an elephant that's lurking around here as well. It's just hiding behind those trees. Sorry, Zenzel. I'm gonna put my head out of the way. Oh, now you're gonna come into the open. Perfect. Maybe we'll get you having a drink. Although the tip of the trunk seems to be a little bit darker, which would suggest that perhaps he's already had a drink. Wishful thinking will be that he had a drink at another pan and then he wants to try and taste this water. There we come. Quite a gloomy sky, but we're very excited at the prospect of an elephant drinking. Now, this is a youngster, and it shouldn't really be on its own. Either the rest of its herd is somewhere around here, or perhaps he's related to the ones that we saw, which are not that far away. And it is common for young elephants to split away from the pride as they start going into their teenage years and just spend some time away. And eventually that gap between them and the herd becomes so big that they just wander off and do their own thing. I do, however, think that this one is a little bit too young to be wandering on its own. So I wonder if you're not part of that other group. But you're very clever because you knew where to come for water, and then you assessed the situation from the tree, and once it felt that all was good, then it approached the water. You're drinking in a funny way, though. He's filling up his trunk, and he's not really closing his mouth. It's almost like he's just pouring water in there, but that's a very unique way of drinking. Wildflower, you're wondering if I've ever seen an elephant with the trunk beaten off. I actually have once in Botswana. It was a young little elephant, but I think it was rather a crocodile than something else that got the tip of its trunk, not an elephant, not a lion or something bigger. It is not common, however, to see it. More often than not, you'll find that elephants are missing the tip of their trunk, but it's due to snares rather than animals biting them. As obviously the trunk is a very sensitive limb for the elephant, so they don't really allow anything to get closer to them. And I do remember one of my friends at Lion Sands, he actually was driving and they stopped to see elephants drinking in the Sabi River. Now, the Sabi River is very well known for having huge crocodiles. Like the biggest crocodiles you can imagine are probably in there. And one of his guests got a photo of the crocodile attached to the elephant's trunk as the elephant was trying to, break free from the crocodile's bite. It was a crazy photograph. But in this particular dam, luckily no crocodiles, so I don't think he's got much to worry about. Pardon me? Yes, as Senza points out, he's only got one tusk. So there's been a youngster that's been hanging around quarantine, and maybe I'm just calling it a youngster because we're looking at it from above and it's maybe bigger than what I think it is. But there's been one on quarantine that's been enjoying the marulas, and it's almost been as stubborn as Daryl when it comes to marulas. But I'm almost tempted to say that the one on quarantine is missing the left tusk and not the right one. Gonna have to go check back on my photographs. Maybe it's my mind that's playing tricks on me. But it would make sense if it was that one, because we're not too far away from quarantine. There's a lot of water here. Would actually be quite consistent with that idea. Maybe that's why you're drinking so much water. You've had too much sugar. But you're drinking in a funny way. I wonder what's the story. Now you see, off it goes. So normally when elephants drink, and this just could be him being funny and having a bit of an enjoyable Monday morning playing with the water. Normally when they put the water in their mouth, they tilt their head upwards and then they close their mouth so that not as much water comes falling down. But it could be that he's just doing it for the sake of doing it. Elephants are known for doing things just because it seems to amuse them. Colbert, you're wondering if he could be trying to wash something out of his mouth. It's a possibility, But I think if there was something stuck in its mouth, it would also try to use its trunk to break it free. The elephants are often seen putting their trunks or the tip of their trunks in their mouths, and their lips on the sides, their mouth structure is not the same as ours. So when they put things in their mouth, normally the lips cover the tongue just to prevent them from getting stung by any thorns or any spines or anything that might be in the branch of a tree, and then they start eating, or they start trying to crunch everything with their molars, which is at the back of the mouth. But it could be a possibility. Could be that there's something that's stuck in there, or perhaps a little bit sore. Maybe he chewed a thorn the wrong way around and his mouth is a little bit sore, and that's why he's drinking like that. Where are you going? Are you going to kick that rock? Having a bit of a foot scratch. Off you go. Wonder if we're going to see you in quarantine later on today. Let's see. I think it's going to be a decisive thing to see where he heads off now. If he goes to the right, then we know he's going to go to quarantine. If he veers off to the left, then he might be looking for more elephants. And now, for a little bit more of tension, he's decided to stop and smell the air and confuse us. Don't you worry, we're not judging you if you want to go and eat your marulas. You can only enjoy them once a year. Listening intently to everything around us. Too many marulas all around. Do you want the ones where the lions are? Do you want the ones on quarantine? Are you going to go look for the rest of the elephants? I think he might actually abandon the marulas on quarantine and head off to where the rest of the elephants were. Perhaps you're just greedy and you want the fruit of the marula tree you're approaching. Oh, elephants. They're such foodies. I think probably the term foodie only applies to them and not really other creatures. They're very fuzzy about what they like to eat, and when they like something, they just eat it and eat it and eat it. Seems like Tristan has managed to catch up with Hukumuri, so let's head over to them and have a look at the chicken medicine.
We have indeed, and he's busy stalking some impalas. So there's the impalas are there, and there he is hidden in the bush. You can see he's kind of actually looking the opposite way at the moment, but he's been watching these impalas and trying to kind of just figure it out and see what he can do. The other very concerning thing about what's happening here is that Tundi and Cub's tracks are here, and they are fresh. They are on top of some of the vehicles from this morning, and they're moving northwards, and it seems as though he's not far. Well, he's about 300 meters to the east or west of where those tracks are. Whether he's picked up those tracks, I don't think so, because he's not smelling to the ground, he's not salivating, but definitely Tundi and Cub are not far as well from this area. So hopefully him stalking impalas, he will be successful and catch an impala and leave Tundi and Cub alone and let them move out of this section. But it is all kind of culminating into a big drama that is about to unfold, and Hukumuri seems as though he's going to cause a bit of a stir. And if anything is going to drive Tingana to come back, it would be this situation that we've got now. So a male leopard deep in his territory, his female and his cubs very close by, and hopefully that means he's going to try and kind of come in here. But Hukumuri is staring at those impalas. You can see that tongue is out as per normal. He does this all the time, where his tongue just flops out of his mouth. I think it's because it's too long. It almost chokes him if he keeps his mouth closed for too long. So the tongue is out at the moment, and he's just watching those impalas with these glaring eyes. Now, we've stopped on the road because we don't want to move too much and don't want to crash around, but the impalas, there's two of them. So one is facing his direction, the other one is facing away from him, and so he's going to have a situation where he's going to have to wait for that other impala to turn its back. That's why he's just standing there watching them. Let's see now, he's going to go down and just check things out and watch what goes on. I don't think he's going to move too much until this other impala turns its back on him, and he can then try and get himself a little bit further forward. He's in a situation is one of those where leopard is going to show extreme patience. This is what they do, is when they get into a hunting situation, they're not like lions or cheetah, and that generally lion and cheetah decides on the hunt and executes quite fast. A leopard can sometimes be somebody or a cat that will sit for long periods. It's calculating, it works it out, it tries to figure out, okay, where can I go in order to be able to hunt this prey animal successfully, and they'll be very patient in order to do that. The problem is that there is a squirrel that is alarm calling, and the squirrel is going to give away his presence quite quickly. The impalas haven't seen him at all, and it will be very difficult for impalas to see him. I mean, with the naked eye, it's tough to be able to make them out, but you can see the impalas are kind of moving through there, and they're actually almost heading kind of towards where he is, so they're sort of moving in that direction, but they've got an advantage in that where they're standing, there's quite an open clearing around this termite mound, and so with him being where he is, he's got a long way to go to try and get anywhere near that open clearing and anywhere close to be able to hunt them. While he's close in terms of, he can see them and they could potentially see him if he stood up, he's far in terms of a leopard's ability to hunt. He needs to be much closer than what he is now. If he could get to this termite mound without being seen, then he would have a situation where he would be in a real good shot to try and chase these impalas. But he's definitely going to try and sit here for a long period of time and work it out and figure it out. And with us being on the road is not the worst thing, because at the end of the day, if we're on the road, we are not causing any hitting of trees, we're not disturbing, and the impalas often will be looking at us and not actually facing him. If we parked right next to him, you'll find the impalas would probably pick him up a lot quicker. We saw it yesterday with the lions. The impalas, or the lioness that we had, we sat with her and she was lying on the road, and the impalas just kept looking at us because we were just parked there, and eventually they picked her up and started snorting at her. So, for him and for the impalas, we're kind of in a good spot here. We're not blocking anyone's view, and they can go about this as naturally as possible. But he is a tough guy to find sometimes. He moves very quickly. He must have spotted these impalas quite quickly. So James, you are spot on. Hopefully he does get himself an impala meal or any meal and distract him from following Tundi and Cub. It will be a disaster if he picked up those tracks properly and started moving. Look, you see? The impala's turned its back, and that's why he's all of a sudden in a very different posture, and he's now watching what's going on. So he knows as soon as the impalas turn, that's his opportunity to start going forward. So his behavior is changing completely. Like I say, he's still far too far away to even execute anything. But let's see, if the impalas start drifting and he can just get himself a bit closer, then we'll obviously keep going with this and see what happens. But for now, he's in a situation where he's just watching and just checking and seeing. The impalas are still quite aware of what's going on. They know that there's something not quite right. I'm sure the squirrel alarm calling is what's started their kind of analytical behavior, where they're just searching and checking and making sure. And you can see his reactions are amazing. Every time the impalas move, he moves a little bit. Every time they look in his direction, he gets a little bit lower and stops and doesn't really look too much. But you can see he's pretending almost like he's not interested, but if they move, then he perks up very, very quickly. So he's definitely interested. It's just the situation and the terrain that he's in is not ideal for him at this stage. And he's got a pesky squirrel to worry about who's busy complaining at him as well. But I can see the one impala has come quite far behind him. Both of them actually have shifted quite far behind us. So there you can see them. I do apologize about the aerial. Unfortunately, they have moved exactly where the aerial is, which is Murphy's Law. So I apologize about that. Now, we are going to extend a little bit longer just to see what goes on. So hopefully we can just see if he gets into it and starts hunting. I'm not sure that the terrain allows it, but let's just keep with him for a little bit and see what he does. We'll give it another sort of 10-15 minutes as to see if he actually gets into stalk mode properly. Dancer's Dirt, you say he's in the zone. Well, if leopards make me laugh with hunting, because while they are very serious about it, you can see they almost have this kind of attitude like, well, I'm just going to pretend like I'm not doing anything, and as soon as the impalas decide to move, then I'll start moving. Now, one impala just bolted for some reason, and the other one as well. They've kind of run away from us now, and it's not because of us and not because of anything that's happened. I mean, he'd hardly moved. They're not alarm calling, but they've run through that direction, and it's going to be interesting to see now what he does. I can see he's grooming himself a little bit and stood up a bit. Now, I wonder if he's going to follow them or if he's just going to continue on his way. He's looking up in the tree as well, as though there's something in there, but there isn't. I don't think he's going to carry on hunting. I think he's decided that's where he's going to settle for now and just try and think about what he's going to do for these impalas. But the impalas have drifted very far now. They're probably 3-4 times the distance that they were to start off, and he's not making any move to follow just yet. So I think we're pretty much going to be a situation where he's just going to sit down and take it easy. Maybe he's decided this is it for the morning. He's walked a long way, and he's going to just sit around here and hope that the impalas drift towards him. Right, so I think what we're going to do is we're going to end our morning here. We did extend a little bit just to see if he would hunt. It doesn't look like he's going to be hunting at all. He looks like he's going to sit tight for now. I'll stay with him. So remember that we do action broadcasts, so pay attention. Maybe if he does start hunting correctly or properly, I will carry on with him. But for now, it's been an absolute pleasure this morning. I hope that you had a thoroughly good time with us here in South Africa and that you enjoyed the beautiful Nkuhuma Pride, the Birminghams and Hukumuri males. So from Ali, myself, Kirsty, VM and Senzo, it's been a pleasure. We'll see you this afternoon on the Sunset Safari.